So you'll see another line come in here momentarily. So,
Yep.
all right. So tell him about why did you choose this topic for your science fair project?
It was the first thing that came to my mind.
All right, there you go. And you usually want to research something that you're interested in, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool.
Is lacrosse your favorite sport?
Pardon?
Is lacrosse your favorite sport?
Yes.
Okay. Do you play any other sports? No.
Soccer, tennis.
But lacrosse is what?
Is my favorite.
Is your favorite.
That's the number one. Well, that's a good sport to have as number one. It's good that you're a multi-sport athlete, too. So those are two good sports to play as well.
Very cool. All right, well, why don't you ask him some of your questions, dude?
Okay.
He's got a PowerPoint presentation and everything, so watch out.
Oh, okay.
When you're evaluating an athlete to be a part of the men's lacrosse program, what strengths do you look for?
Well, I think it varies. Being at Notre Dame, I think the first strength we look at is their academics. Notre Dame is a very tough institution to get into, so how well your grades are is going to be really important to us. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we look at and we base it more on a motto or a saying we have as a program is what's your character like? We talk a lot about character, culture, and community. So what type of person are you? When you're not on the field, how do you treat your parents? How do you treat your friends or your siblings? Are you a good person in your community and do you help out and get involved? How are you in the locker room? Are you a good teammate? You're a good friend? So we really look at those factors, and then we take those to heart because we feel those guys are the guys that create the best team. That they allow our team to gel and become one unit as opposed to 50 individuals. And then obviously another important piece is how skilled you are. Playing Division I lacrosse requires, you need to be athletic in terms of speed and agility and how well you can move, but also you need to have some strong stick skills and a good IQ and mindset. Whether you play offense or defense, do you understand, what you're supposed to be doing defensively and what the offense is trying to do? And if you're an offensive player, can you read and understand what the defense is showing you and make the best to create opportunities for your team to score?
Cool.
Okay. How much do you evaluate the player's non-dominant skill sets?
It's very important to us. I'm assuming by non-dominant you mean if they're a strong lefty or a strong righty. Most of our guys, if you're a strong lefty, we'll take Sergio Perkovic for example here. So he's a very, very good righty shooter, probably the best overhand righty shooter in the country. So we want to make sure we get Sergio to shoot the ball right-handed. Now, Sergio is also competent with his left hand, but we're going to make sure we put him in situations to score and shoot with his right hand. But being able to go both ways and use your left and your right hand and pass and catch, you don't have to be necessarily a threat to score with with your offhand or your non-dominant hand, but certainly the ability to be a threat in terms of if I've never played against you before and I see that you're going to your left, you're going to your right, I have to respect the fact that you could run and cradle and pass and potentially shoot. So it makes that defense think a little bit more about how they're going to guard you and the rest of the team.
Okay. How important is the speed of a shot or throw compared to accuracy?
Well, I guess it depends on the type of, where on the field the shot is taking place. If you're, just to use Sergio as another example here, Sergio has a very fast shot. I believe he was clocked at 111 miles an hour. So in order to get a shot off that quickly, it takes time and room, and he needs to get his hands set and get his arms back and follow through. So you'll notice a lot of his shots come from probably 15 yards away from the goal because he needs kind of that space to get that shot off. So So I think there, that speed is really important. Accuracy certainly helps. But when you look at players that play around the crease or in tight and they shoot the ball usually from like 3 to 5 yards, you probably notice that more accuracy is important because you're so close to the goal. It's not necessarily about blowing it by him. It's about being smart and where you're placing it, because you don't need to shoot the ball as quickly if you can place the ball well. So it varies by player in the situation. I think if you do a lot of shooting from away from the goal by 15 yards plus, then I think you're going to want to have some speed. That might be a little bit more important. I mean, accuracy is always important, but you want to be able to get the ball to the cage and past the goalie. But if you're shooting from in tight, accuracy is certainly more important because you want to be able to place it rather than you're not going to have enough time to wind up and fire it past the goalie.
In your opinion, what pass is more accurate and why? Over the shoulder, sidearm, or underhand?
Definitely over the shoulder. You see a lot of players. Some guys can throw sidearm, some guys can throw underhand. I mean, we have certainly some skilled guys that are capable of making those passes, which I always tell young kids like yourself. When you're first starting out, you want to be as fundamentally sound player as you possibly could be. So you want to pass over the shoulder, you want to shoot overhand, and then as you develop those skills and you feel comfortable, it's okay to start, changing the trajectory and the angle at which you're going to pass the ball. But in my 20 plus years of being around the sport of lacrosse, the fundamental way has always been an over the shoulder pass because you can control it. You're coming right at your target, and you're creating a straight line. When you come sidearm, you probably got to pull a little bit. The stick is further away from the core of your body. So again, getting that ball, it's probably requires a little bit more of a wrist snap to pull it back to where you got to get it to. And then underhand, again, you're further away from the core of your body. So there's a lot of room for error with those type of passes. But certainly some guys are able to complete those passes, and then they're highly skilled. I would say this as a former coach and now operations director. When you complete those passes, those risky passes in a game, they're great. If you don't complete them, that's when a coach is wondering what you were thinking at that point. So certainly always safer to go over the shoulder with those type of passes.
That's happened a couple of times, hasn't it? Tries to get a little creative with the shot, and it goes whoa. That's all good. Sorry, good.
Do the coaches, players, or team managers decide which equipment will be used based on the weather conditions?
So that's actually a combination. That's part of my job, but part of the players. In terms of the gloves and the shoulder pads and all that stuff, that's not going to change. The one thing that weather tends to affect the most is the head of the stick. Whether if it's raining or snowing, once the mesh on the head gets wet, it starts to bag out a little bit. So that's where certain players will adjust their sticks before the game. We'll certainly have an idea of what the weather looks like leading up to a game. So we could certainly tell our guys, like, hey, if it's a Wednesday and we're playing on Saturday, it looks like it's going to rain or snow this weekend, so make sure you adjust your stick now so you get used to throwing with it with a little bit of a tighter pocket, and then this way they're prepared to play with it in the rain or snow, and then obviously make adjustments on game day once guys go out there and they warm up and they could critique their stick a little bit. So it's mostly the players, it's all personal preference, but our staff does a great job of notifying them, several days in advance what the weather looks like so they can be prepared for that.
Cool.
Since games are played on turf and grass these days, how does the team prepare differently to get ready for either of the surfaces?
Well, we have, so being out here in Indiana, it's a little bit colder and we get a lot more snow than you do in Florida. So we have artificial, the field turf. Our stadium outside is a field turf stadium. And then we also have an indoor facility, so if the weather does get really bad, we can go inside and practice and not have to worry about kind of being out there for games and whatnot. But we do also have a grass field, and depending on who our opponent's going to be, we try to mimic our practice situation to who we're going to play. So if we're going to be going to Florida, and playing on a grass field, we may spend a little bit more time on our grass practice field doing some warm-ups and whatnot, just so our guys get a feel of running on turf, picking up a ground ball or picking up a ground ball off the grass and running on the grass. Likewise, if we're going to be on a regular turf field, we'll use our practice and game stadium. And then if we're indoors, we may actually practice in our indoor center just so we can get used to the lighting and kind of the grayness and the temperature, because most of those indoor facilities have the same temperature. So we're fortunate that we have the ability to utilize 3 different facilities that can help us prepare, whether we're playing a team like Syracuse, who has an indoor facility, a team like Duke or North Carolina, which have a grass facility, or if we're playing, Ohio State, which has a turf field. So we could utilize all 3.
How often are balls changed during a game? Does the ball begin to break down so fast that new ones have to be used?
So during a game, before the game, myself or our team managers will give the officials 4 brand new game balls, and then we'll also put them around the field. So we'll have end-line balls on the end line and the sidelines, and we won't change those out. They are pretty durable. So those will last us at least a game. I'd say from experience, when we open a new case of balls, we typically get 2 to 3 weeks of use out of that ball before it starts to lose its grip and its stickiness, and it gets slick or a slimer or greaser, as some coaches will refer to them as. And from my experience, a lot of that is mostly based on the moisture or the weather. I actually noticed last year that if we play games and there's either snow or rain or it's kind of a very damp, muggy day, that balls tend to get slicker quicker. I haven't figured out why, but that's one of the things that contributes or leads to them losing their durability.
Well, about the slickness, that's kind of an interesting point, because if it's slick, how would that impact the ball during a game? Would it make the ball? Sorry, I'm off to the corner. with if a ball were to have moisture on it, so if it were to get wet during a game or whatever in the snow or what have you, would that impact? Obviously, would impact the trajectory of the ball itself, right? Would it slow it down, speed it up, or just change how it's passed, or what do you?
Yeah, well, I think if you ask a lot of our guys, I mean, they when the ball becomes slick, what the number one issue that players have and we have is the ability for it to come out of the pocket the right way on a shot or a pass or a ground ball. So when you have a brand new ball, if you were to grab a brand new ball and a ball you've had for several months, you'll notice the brand new ball is a little bit, it's a little bit tougher, rugged, and it has like a sticky feel to it. So when using that ball, a brand new ball, right, the player could feel it in his stick. He knows that his mesh is going to hold that ball well. When the ball starts to get slick, from the moisture, the rain or snow, what you start to get is the ball kind of starts to slide around the pocket a little bit more, and the player could feel that. So when they go to pass it or shoot it, where they may have a good feel and control of the ball, the slickness as it gets slicker or greasier, it moves around, so the players are less accurate in terms of how that ball is coming out, which you'll start to see some players will actually affect how hard how hard they'll pass or shoot or their follow through to try and compensate for what they believe, if the ball's not in the right spot when they're getting ready to release it. So it does have some effect. We try to, like I said, every 2 or 3 weeks replace our balls. This way the guys are practicing and playing with the best quality ball that we have. But on game days, I haven't seen a game day yet where we've gone through them that quickly. But if we do play in the rain, it does wear down the ball significantly quicker. Probably a couple days to a week, we'll see those effects on the ball.
What type of conditions does Sergio Perkovic do in order to shoot the ball 106 miles per an hour?
What type of practice or conditions or?
Conditions. Conditioning.
Conditioning, yeah.
Conditioning. Well, I'll tell you what. He is. We call him a gym rat. I mean, he's very, very focused on himself personally, just so he has a healthy body. He's very smart about what he eats and what he puts into his body. So he's not running out after practice and eating McDonald's or Burger King, all the fast food that's bad for you. He's making sure he's getting a nutritious meal, salad. So when he does work out, he's able to replenish the nutrients and help build his muscles back up. But Sergio does a lot of shooting. I mean, he'll shoot overhand. I mean, we'll practice for 2 hours a day as a team, and then Sergio will actually probably spend another half hour to 45 minutes on his own on the practice field shooting. He'll do a bunch of overhand shots. He'll actually set up a goal right in front of him, and he'll practice shooting coming over the top of the goal so he could practice his form. But he spends a lot of time, I'd say, on top of the 2 hours a day that we're together, close to between 30 minutes and an hour of just kind of his footwork and how he's stepping towards the goal and how he's releasing it. He'll practice some game situations, so he'll have a partner or two go out there with him, and he'll be coming off a pick, and one of the guys will be playing defense on him. One guy will pass him the ball so he can work on a quick release, or he'll just kind of have some time and room, step down shooting with no one in his face and no one guarding him. So he does a lot of different practices to help his game out, but he's always working on game-like situations. So shots he'll potentially take or see in a game is what he's tend to focusing on. And it's always, like I touched earlier on, fundamentally sound, just over the top, overhand shooting and passing. He's always working to make sure he's accurate in how he's passing and shooting the ball.
When preparing for an opponent, do you do anything special to simulate adverse conditions that a player might find in a game?
We've never done that. We tend to focus. I mean, I think our sport is a little different. I know from hearing the football team when they have big road games, they'll have their practice field. They'll pipe in kind of crowd music and crowd noise to kind of stimulate the hard of hearing. I don't think we're there as a sport yet, so we don't really face adverse conditions. We do a great job of identifying. Our coaches watch a lot of game film on our opponents, so we'll certainly scout and evaluate our upcoming opponent, and we'll give each of our guys a scouting report, and we'll highlight what a player may do well, where his weaknesses are, and where we think we could take advantage of those weaknesses and how. So we do a very detailed and thorough scouting report on each of our opponents and individual players. We'll highlight from their standpoint, what they do really well as a team and what we need to be prepared for as a team, but then also break down individual matchups. So if you have a player like Sergio, we'll kind of say, hey, this is the defenseman that will most likely be guarding you. Here's what he's really good at. Here's where we think we can take advantage of some of his weaknesses, and we get that to our players, and they study it. And then we'll also watch probably 3 to 4 hours of film, throughout the week leading up to a game, so our guys see, not only are they reading it, they have a chance to see it on TV, kind of what we're talking about, so they're prepared, not only physically but mentally for what they may face.
Get your notes out.
Much more.
You've asked a lot of questions. What about, didn't you ask this question? No. Okay. This one. you worked on face-off?
I noticed in your resume that you worked with face-off specialists.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed in your resume that you worked with face-off specialists.
Yeah. And what do you do in the game? What do they
What
have you
tips
do?
can you give me to help in helping me get better?
Yeah, I think. Well, it's been a while since I've worked with face-off specialists, but in my time of working with them, I think the number one thing is your hand quickness. So a lot of the times when we work with our face-off guys, we actually take the stick out of their hand, and we kind of simulate kind of what their hands would be like without a stick, and we'll put a lacrosse ball or tennis ball, and they just work on getting their hand. On a whistle, they're just grabbing the ball with their hand as quick, their top hand, their lead hand as quickly as possible. So they're working on their hand quickness. And while they're doing that, they're moving their bottom hand. So they're basically simulating what they would do without a stick in their hand. And it's more about developing that muscle memory. One thing we always tell our guys and the officials, some officials are really, really good at it in helping you out. Some officials are not. But when you go into the face-off X, right? The official will probably put the ball down, he'll probably say down, set, and blow the whistle, but he'll get into a rhythm. So in your head, identifying like if he says down, set, and then maybe waits a second or two and blows the whistle, starting to understand what that whistle rhythm looks like for him. So this way you could potentially start to jump a little bit and guess when he'll blow the whistle. But when you're not in, I actually saw this with one of our guys last year. Our backup face-off guy would take face-offs on the sideline very similar to how our guy in the game would. So when the ball was down, he'd take a knee, and then he'd wait to hear the whistle. So he was practicing face-offs on the sideline as it was happening in the game. So when he got his chance to go in, he knew a little bit about the rhythm and how quickly he needed to react based on that official's whistle. So that's one thing I'll certainly work on. Face-offs are one of those unique positions where one guy may be super, super successful, and he may find another guy who he can't beat. It's really more about hand quickness and how quickly you can react, and obviously, utilizing your teammates to the best of your advantage. If you do find a situation where you're struggling in a face-off with an opponent, maybe the best situation is to make sure that it becomes a ground ball for your wing guys, and not necessarily you winning it or him winning it, but let your wing guys help you out and communicating with your wing guys as to, hey, I'm really struggling today. Maybe you should come to my backside hip a little bit quicker. I'll try and have the ball just kind of roll out there, and you can pick it up and go down the field with it. So there's a lot of different, we use a lot of different, our face-off guy, he'll use a lot of different hand signals, depending on the situation and what we're doing in the game and the time of the game. But how you communicate with your teammates is certainly going to help you become a better face-off guy and win those battles.
When will you have the 2017 camp schedules available?
Well, we should have it pretty soon. I can tell you, we'll probably sit down in the next couple of weeks here and identify the weekends that work for us. I could tell you June will probably be that second or third week of June for one of our camps, and then probably late July will be our another camp. The dates are still to be determined, but we try to keep those dates as close to the time frame as the previous year, just for consistency.
Okay, well, do you have that question?
How old do you have to be? What grade do you have to be in to be at the camp?
So we start at fifth grade. And if it's going into fifth grade for the upcoming school year. So if you're a current fourth grader right now, is that correct?
Yes.
So then you would be eligible to attend next summer because you would have completed fourth grade and you're entering your fifth grade school year. So you would be eligible to come. And we have a lot of kids kind of just like you. Our camp is pretty big. We have 400 kids, but a lot of them are in the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, or going into the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. So we have a lot of young kids who come from all over the country and participate in camps. So if you were able to attend, I'm sure you'd have a blast, and you get to meet kids from different parts of the country and get to spend a week on the beautiful Notre Dame campus.
All right. Any other questions you have on there, my friend? Be respectful of his time.
Thanks for speaking with me.
Connor, you're welcome. And let me ask you this: how far are you from Sarasota, Bradenton?
We're about, since my head is all big, like an hour, hour and a half.
Okay. Just something if it works with your schedule. So we might be we're going to be down there in January at the IMG Academy. We're going to scrimmage Team USA.
Yeah.
I think it's a Saturday or Sunday, but if you guys can get out there, I think it's January 14th or 15th. So if you guys are free, we'd love to have you come out and watch and see if I can get you on the sideline to say hello to some of our guys. How's that sound?
That would be
Cool.
awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. What? You didn't even show him your shirt. You didn't even show him your Notre Dame shirt, Lordy.
There we go. So,
That would be great. And thank you so much. I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking the time. And this was a huge treat for him. So thank you.
No, you're quite welcome. I appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.